Morning, everybody. Back with another story. Um, the topic: your old self have to die before your new self can begin. You feel me? We're gonna start with this scripture right here. It's Romans 6:6. For we know that our old self was crucified with him, so that the body ruled by sin may be done away with, that we should no longer be slaves to sin. So basically, that being said, is Jesus died for us, and he was crucified, and he died for us, and it's the same thing with our sins, and they are dead. They could, once you be born again, your sins die just like the same way that Jesus did. But his new self came, and he's sitting at the throne with God. So we're gonna finish telling this story about how your old self have to die before your new self begin. So it might be a little loud. I don't know. Let me go turn this TV down. So I'm back. So I started at Temple, and it was cool. Like I said, I started at the temp agency, making $9 an hour. My supervisor wanted to hire me. I was there for like about a couple months, maybe like a month, maybe a month. I was there, and my supervisor, she said, "Yo, I want to hire you." So I'm like, "All right, bet." So she's like, "Look, I sent all the paperwork to HR. I mean, they should be reaching out to you." So, I'm like, "All right, cool." But I kept doing what I was doing because I'm one of them people where it's just I let my work talk for me. So I kept doing what I had to do, and HR reached out and it was like, "Well, listen, we can't hire you right now. You gotta get a certain amount of hours." So I'm like, "All right." So I had to finish out my hours to be able to get hired. So that's what I did. I finished out the hours because it kept a track of what the hours that I had to get. And once I got to my hours, I reached out to HR. Like, "Yo, I'm in my hours. I'm trying to get hired." So, they was, after that, they was like, "Okay." HR, it got all the paperwork done and all that. So, we got it all situated. So they sent me my offer letter, you know what I mean? So I came from $9 an hour to $20 an hour. So, I mean, listen, I stuck in there because at the end of the day, I trusted God and I stepped out on faith. Like, you know what? From 40 to 9, I know eventually I will be getting more, you know what I mean? And be able to get benefits through the hospital and everything, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I was just looking ahead and like, God, if it's your will, it will be done. And I stepped out on faith, and then everything came to be. You know what I mean? I just trusted God. So that's what I did. So I wound up getting hired through Temple, and I was a full-time employee. I had to work the second shift. Didn't really like it, but that's the position that I started on, and that was the position that basically they hired me at. So I was at second shift. So I was everywhere at first. I mean, just here, there, and then they wound up giving me my own area. Probably was there for like about, I don't know, 9 months or something. They gave me my own area. Got my own area, and it was the IR. I mean, so I got my own area and made a lot of friends because I, was in that area. So I think I was in that area for like a year and a half. So I was in that area and made a lot of friends, and a lot of people respected me, and just my story in general, you know what I mean, with the getting the DUI and having to start over, and you know what I mean, but it was just God talking to me, and God was doing what he was doing. So we did I stayed in my area. I met a lot of people, got familiar with a lot of stuff, and I met a lot of people. You know what I mean? My sister worked there, and it just was cool. I learned a lot of stuff. I mean, I did housekeeping before, back in when I before I, just before I started. I met my wife, so I did it back then, so it wasn't like it was new. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of new things to learn at this hospital, but we got it done. So I was there and everything, and I said I had my own position. I did it for a while. So with me, it's like if I'm not really into something, I start drifting away from it. You know what I mean? So I stayed in church. You know what I mean? Because I was constantly pulling off layers. I was constantly letting my old self die. You know what I mean? There was something new. God blessed me with it. So I was constantly pulling off my old layers. You know what I mean? So as me doing that, and I'm telling people about my story and, blase. You know, little at a time, I might have started slipping back just a little bit, but I still was focused on what I had to do. So slipped back a little bit, and then, I had to refine myself and get back on track. So, like I said, back in line Johnson was getting back in line with God's will. So me and my wife was doing way better, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I was looking at it like this. Instead of all that working, it was more so working, and trying to get my relationship right with God and my wife. And it started doing it because we was constantly working on things behind the scenes. You feel what I'm saying? So, we was going to church regular. We was getting it together. God was putting it, gelling us back together how it's supposed to be. So during the time, I wound up just wanting to get a motorcycle. So I wound up getting a motorcycle. You know what I mean? And I got it because I haven't rode in a while. I ain't riding in a while, but my dad, he taught me how to ride. You know what I mean? So I wound up getting a motorcycle, and that right there was like my outlet. Because I wasn't into the hanging out no more, or go act like I'm single or hang out with single people. I was like over that. You know what I mean? I was more so doing like-minded things with like-minded people. You know what I mean? So that's what I started doing. So I started riding, and I got my bike. Wound up getting a bike, and I rode. Every time I could, I was just practicing how to ride. You know what I mean? So slowly but surely, like I said, I was still taking off these pieces of layers that I had, all these practices that I was taking them off, all the bad practices. And I started doing the good practices, studying, being around people that I was supposed to be, bonded with my wife. You know what I mean? Us getting a relationship like we wanted. And I thank God for that. So started riding, you know what I mean? And I wound up, when I got my bike, wound up scheduling to get my motorcycle license because I didn't have one. I just knew how to ride. So I scheduled that, got my motorcycle. I wound up, sometime, I forgot the time, but I wound up getting my motorcycle license with my bike. It was just another achievement because I just was like, you know what? Let me stop. Let me start doing things that I'm supposed to be doing. That I'll be, yo, chill out. Sorry. Yo, come here. You better stop barking. Sorry, these dogs be tripping. They hear one little thing, even though it's cool, Millie. So, this is the marriage dimension, love. This is what it is. We going to talk. It's gonna be real. It's gonna be dogs barking. It's gonna be my son talking. It's gonna be. And I'm not editing nothing. I'm gonna just let it all be real because this is what it is. So I started. I wound up getting my motorcycle license because I was like, let me start doing it. So I think I was at Temple for 3 years. You know what I mean? So, me personally, I'm a hard worker. So in the area that I was in, I wanted to get out of it. Because I wanted to be able to move around and network with more people. I'm a network. I like network with people. I like talking to people. I wasn't like that before. I used to be quiet when I was younger. You know what I mean? But as time, I'm pulling off and getting pulling off. And as I'm pulling off layers, I was putting layers on, but I put on some layers that was beneficial to me because I talk. I could talk. I make friends anywhere. I mean, I like being around good people and just talking to them. And I mean, I like meeting new people, good people. Um, so I most definitely got this talking thing from the time from my sister passing to now or however. So I wanted to switch positions, and I stayed in housekeeping, but I wanted to switch positions. I wanted to go to probably one of the hardest areas, doing all the trash in the hospital. Nobody wanted to do it. Nobody wanted to do it. I mean, it's hard. It's a lot of work. Um, but I wanted to do it. Reason why? Because stop Matthias. The reason why I wanted to do it because I wanted to be able to move around. And I wanted to be able to stay moving. You know what I mean? So it's a demanding physical position. You walk around the hospital all day, out on each wing, collecting trash all day, all night. And like I said, I work from 3 to 11. So you know, um, I fought to get to it. Nobody wanted. They didn't understand why I wanted it, but I wanted to be able to be wherever, anywhere in the hospital. And it's like my thing. I looked at it like everybody had certain areas where they had to stay. Like, you know what I mean? I was in IR, and then somebody had to be in ER, and somebody was on this floor, somebody. On trash, you was everywhere. Just, you was everywhere. So you could get to communicate and meet different people because you're everywhere. And then if your supervisor pop up on you, she can't be like, why you ain't in your area? And I'm like, the whole hospital is my area. So, I did that. I mean, they wanted to put me on trash, and I loved it because I was everywhere. I got to move around. It was, like I said, it was physical and demanding because you always had to keep moving, and it was a lot of trash. I mean, but I digged it because I could move around. You know what I mean? I could do what I gotta do. I could, stay in shape, whatever. So, man, I did that I did that up to the time I left Temple. You know what I mean? So, I like the Temple, but I wanted more. I wanted to get back to driving. You know what I mean? That was one of my goals because I messed it up, and I was like, you know what, God, listen, I thank you for the opportunities that you gave me with everything. I want to get back to driving. So I prayed to God, like, God, I want to get back to driving. I want to get back to driving. So one day I was just sitting at the crib. One of my homies came over, right? And he was at work. And he a close friend. He was at work, and he came through with his work vehicle. So he was like, yeah, I just want to stop out, da 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 da. And he's like, yeah, I'm at work, my truck outside. I'm looking like, that's what you drive? He was like, yeah. I'm like, yo, bro, like, you know what I mean? I'm trying, what's up? Like, you know what I mean? You think your boss could? He was like, yo, just fill out the app. He was like, listen, you gonna have to go get your hazmat and your tinker endorsement. I'm like, okay, all right. So, we talked. So I started looking up after he left, I looked up the John. I'm like, you know what? Cool, let me go get these endorsements. So, because I already got my CDL back. You know what I mean? It was already like 2 or 3 years in. So I was like, let me go get my it probably was like 3 or it was probably like 2 or 3 or 4 years in. You know what I mean? It probably was 3 years, close to 4. So I said, let me go get my endorsements so I could see if I could get up in this job. So I went to go get my endorsements, probably like within that week. I went to go get my endorsements. I went, got my tinker, and then I got my hazmat. You know what I mean? So I was like, cool. Then I even went out and eventually I went to go get my TWIC. So I can have my TWIC card too. Because I wanted to have all my bases covered. So if this job called me and they asked me, oh, you got this, got this, got this, I could say, yeah, I got it. You feel what I'm saying? So I went out and got all that stuff. So once I did that, filled out the app, and I submitted it. Boom. All right. So at the time, I just kept working Temple. You know what I mean? Kept riding, kept, you know, just taking layers off. I'm taking, because I'm changing my life. You know what I mean? I even, look, within this time from me getting my DUI, I stopped cursing. I stopped cursing. Like, I don't curse. From that time to now, I don't even drink no more. Like, and if it is, it's like 99.9%. I don't drink. You know what I mean? Just cause I don't feel it no more. And it says in the Bible, once you start removing the worldly things, you could have more room to bring in the godly things. So that's what I do. The worldly things I push out, godly stuff I bring in. You know what I mean? So little by little, I'm growing. You know what I mean? I'm taking off the layers. You know what I mean? Letting my old self die so my new self could. So within this time that I was at the hospital, you know what I mean, and getting this new job, I wound up getting almost at the end of the hospital thing. I mean, so matter of fact, like it was beginning and then going back to, so so we wound up getting an interview with my homie job. I mean, like I said, I had to wait time so that my CDL, so insurance companies wouldn't be looking at it. So I was around the 5-year mark. You know what I mean? I think I was around the 5-year mark altogether that I could come back to driving. So I was around that area. I think it was 4. It was probably like 4. So when I got to that 4th area, I wind up getting, all this was around the same time. So I wind up getting the interview here, and I was around my 4 mark area. So that companies really wasn't looking at it like that. So I got an interview, and by my homie working there, it was just, I'm like, listen, if you think he worked good, I work even better, or just around the same thing. So he like, cool. So, time, maybe like a couple weeks went by. He was like, yo, we want to hire you. Cool. So I had to tell my job. I gave him their 2 weeks notice. And I was like, thank you, God, because I was going back to driving. You know what I mean? I wanted to originally always get back to driving, but I had to wait because God was working on me at that time. So that's what I did. I wound up getting back into driving. I was delivering motor oil. And yeah, I finally got back to driving after about 4.5 years of losing my CDL. Well, I had my CDL a year after it got taken, but to the extent of how long before I actually got to use it again was 5 years from me getting that DUI. You know what I mean? So that's just how God works. You know what I mean? You might think like, oh, he took it, but it was a reason behind the whole situation that he wanted me to just work on myself and work on the relationship with him. And I was taking off them layers, taking off layers. I had to let that old self die. That stuff that was in my past that I was doing, I had to let all that die just so the new beginning of me could start forming. And that's what it was doing. You know what I mean? So I wound up getting in here, and I worked there, and it was fun. I got to get back to drive. It was a learning experience with something new. So, but it's gonna be a part 4 because this is part 3. So this is gonna be a part 4 because I'm not gonna run it out. So look, just stick in there with me. Look, like, share, subscribe. Me and my wife gonna get on here and record. We come and we just, you know what I mean? But I've been just doing my own story of how, certain things, like how you gotta do this thing to get to this thing. You know what I mean? To get to this thing. You feel what I'm saying? So it don't come from 0 to 100 like everybody say. It don't. It could be 0 and then 5 and then 10 and then 15, then 20. You know what I mean? So it takes time, but you got to stick with it. I mean, just like I'm sticking with this YouTube, trying to do this YouTube stuff, you got to stick with it. You know what I mean? So, yo, just keep tuning in. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just keep doing videos, and you know what I mean, and you know, I'm home today. I worked yesterday. Yesterday was Saturday. Today's Sunday. So I work home. Got baby boy. Come here, bud. Come here. Say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Say how y'all doing?
How you doing?
They good, bud. Everybody good. So we just wanted to come on here and just do a little recording. And we just thank y'all for everything y'all do. You know what I mean? So we'll be back on here, or I'll be back on here. You know, I'm keep on pushing. So I thank y'all. See y'all later. Say bye, bud.
Hi.
Say bye.
Bye.
Say see you later.
See you later.
See you mañana.
See you later.
All right, guys. See y'all later.